when you fast naturally, drug-free, total testosterone levels go down significantly with maybe 10% up to 25%. I've seen this on my own blood work results when I was drug-free. Again, I checked my cardiac markers because I stopped training for a week. Now, some of them or most of them came down with about 5%, but I would not say that that's very conclusive or indicative that my cardiac markers are elevated due to training. Again, I feel that they're elevated due to the double tap, which I was forced to take at that time, 1.5 years ago, because that was at the height of the pandemic. I regret it, but I can't take it back. So next time I'll take a month off in May. I'll check these cardiac markers again to see if a month off will bring my cardiac markers down. And if they don't come down during that time significantly, I'm going to lawyer up. CKMB, the heart-specific CPK levels, came down 5% from 24 to 22.8 nanograms per milliliter. NT-proBNP was never out of range, so that's still pretty much the same. High-sensitivity troponin T levels came down with about 5.7% from 0.035 to 0.033 nanograms per milliliter, and troponin I went down with 4.4% from 4.5 to 4.3 picograms per milliliter, which is within normal parameters. So CKMB and troponin T levels are now chronically elevated, going all the way back to December of 2021. Thank God I sold all of my stocks of the company that produced that Vax. Thyroid levels. Interesting results. You see that my thyroid stimulating hormone went up with 67% from 2.85 to 4.76 micro IUs per milliliter. Now, I think my thyroid stimulating hormone increased because all of my thyroid markers went down with, let's say, between 10 to 26%, right? You see it on the screen, so no need to repeat it. It could be because I didn't supplement with iodized salts. The iodine is useful for T4 production. Again, T4 thyroxine contains 4 iodine atoms, and through the deiodinase enzymes, the one iodine atom is metabolized for it to be metabolically active T4, which contains 3 iodine atoms. It's called triiodothyronine, right? It's impossible to pronounce, but I got it in one go. So I think my TSH levels went up partially because I didn't supplement with iodine, besides 150 micrograms of iodine that I would get from my multivitamins. Again, it could be due to the severe caloric restriction that I've had over the last couple of days. Maybe it's just an indication that I need to reintroduce T4 supplementation, 100 micrograms per day. But I'm just going to keep my eye on it. I've seen this before on my thyroid panel, that thyroid markers went down and my thyroid stimulating hormone went up, simply because I excluded so much food. So this is probably just a temporary state, and as soon as I reintroduce the food, I'm sure that these thyroid markers will come back down. If you're a high panic individual and you see your TSH level close to the top of the reference range, and now you think you're going to develop goiter or thyroid cancer, you're one of those guys, feel free to supplement your T4 in. Personally, I'm not worried at all. I would be more worried if this was chronically elevated, which could indicate Hashimoto's disease. But in that case, it would be a TSH of, let's say, 6, 7, maybe even 12 micro IUs per milliliter. Let's move over to the sex hormone. And as usual, you will post a comment if you use the timestamps to skip ahead. Beta-HCG went up with 24% from 14.7 to 18.2 milli-IUs per milliliter. And the reason why that is because on the previous results taken on Sunday, March 26th was a Sunday, I injected 183 IUs Ovitrel on Friday, which is 2 days before blood work. But this time I injected 1 day before doing blood work, a mere 24 hours. So this is why beta-HCG levels are increased, right? It's closer to the injection, and this is why it's higher than the previous time. Estradiol came up slightly, 2.7% from 32.9 to 33.8 picograms per milliliter, and I'm still surprised that estradiol levels are within normal parameters, because every time I do research on HCG at higher dosages, you see that estradiol increases disproportionately. And maybe that's because I've been supplementing with 100 milligrams zinc glycinate per day for the last couple of weeks. Again, zinc can also act as an aromatase inhibitor to a certain extent, preventing the conversion of testosterone into estradiol. So this is nicely in range, and my sex drive is as good as it can be, considering that I've been restricting my calories quite tremendously these last couple of weeks. Follicle stimulating hormone went down from 6.26 to 2.15 milli-IUs per milliliter. As you guys might remember, the last time I did blood work, and again, we discussed these results last week during my semen parameter video. The last time it was middle of the reference range because I IV'd the Meronial HMG 5 minutes before drawing blood for analysis. And this time I injected 75 IUs subcutaneously, let's say an hour before drawing blood for analysis. So the difference between both dosing protocols, IV versus sub-Q, 5 minutes before versus 1 hour before, is a reduction of 66%. You know, a follicle stimulating hormone of 2.15 milli-IUs per milliliter doesn't get me out of bed. And this is why I ordered recombinant follicle stimulating hormone, which should be arriving soon. And then I'm going to increase that dose significantly. Luteinizing hormone is still undetectable below 0.04 milli-IUs per milliliter. Total testosterone increased with 34% from, let's say, 650 nanograms per deciliter to 875 nanograms per deciliter. And that's simply because I injected the HCG the day before versus 2 days before. But in most cases, when you fast without HCG or exogenous testosterone in the picture, when you fast naturally, drug-free, total testosterone levels go down significantly, with maybe 10% up to 25%. I've seen this on my own blood work results when I was drug-free, or on client blood work results when they're drug-free, and I help them with their fasting protocol before and after to help them interpret it. A steep reduction in total testosterone levels. And that's not because of testicular function, but that's simply because LH and FSH levels come down substantially when you're restricting your calories. This is another reason why true drug-free athletes, even when they diet for 26 weeks, by the end of it, their LH, their FSH, and their total testosterone levels are almost subclinical. It's quite sad. It's something to say for having a little bit of TRT or HCG in the picture just to sustain your levels within normal parameters. But, you know, when you restrict calories that long, that severely, androgen deficiency is to be expected. In this case, my total testosterone went up, but that's because the HCG was injected a day earlier. Free testosterone, a reduction of 5.6%. Bioavailable testosterone, a reduction of 7.1%. Because SHBG levels went up a whopping 66% from 38.1 to 63.2 nanomoles per liter, which is very normal when you're undergoing severe caloric restriction. When I did my 6 weeks veggie-only stint to cure non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, my testosterone levels went down, obviously. And my SHBG, guys, around 125 nanomoles per liter. So that's twice as high as where it is now. I mean, with an SHBG that high at 120 nanomoles per liter, guess where my libido was? Somewhere in the dark dimension, probably. Okay, so at least it's not this high. And I assume that reintroducing the food will bring my SHBG levels back within favorable ranges. Let's say 40, maybe 45 nanomoles per liter. Time will tell. My thyroid hormones will obviously come up after reintroducing the food, and thyroid hormones also regulate or increase SHBG levels. So maybe I need to bring my estradiol levels down a little bit. Anyway, my libido is just fine. It's fine enough for the period that I'm in right now, dieting. But when the dieting is over, because my fat intake is going up, I'll be ready to start conceiving. DHEA sulfate is pretty much the same. Let's say around 190, 195 micrograms per deciliter, and I didn't recheck my hemoglobin A1C levels because they don't change within a matter of a week. 4.8% on March 26th. So these were my blood work results after 134 hours of a fasting mimicking diet containing only salad, vegetables, and some over-the-counter supplements to meet my micronutrient intake for that week. I hope it was informative. I hope it can inspire you to do a similar fast in the near future. I find it highly beneficial. It builds character. It builds perseverance. It allows me to take a vacation of all this hardcore bodybuilding stuff. And the time that I spent cooking food is now significantly reduced because making a salad is super easy. You grab it, you throw it in a bucket, you wash it, and then you munch it down. Very, very easy, very, very convenient. Very time efficient, I would say. But of course, a fasting mimicking diet isn't very sustainable because the last time I did it for 6 weeks, I really lost all of my gains. So I hope you don't have to undergo that in case of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I'll leave it here, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find everything that I'm associated with down below in the YouTube description section. Head over to my website, vigoroussteve.com, for a ton of articles about all kinds of different subjects. Bookmark that site. If you need personalized advice, you can find the rates for consultations and personalized advice by email or mentorship programs on my website as well. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at VigorSteve. A front double bicep for the Vigorous crew. You guys know what to do. Did I lose a lot of gains? I mean, I'm smaller than before, but you know, the biceps are still peaking. So I can't say that I lost a significant amount of muscle mass. You know, this morning I was around 94.5 kilograms. So realistically, from before the fast up until now, after reintroducing some food and restoring some glycogen, 3 kilos down. And I would say that that's 99% body fat. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.